Hello and welcome to another fantasy football tournament series number 22. And this is the Arab Nations Cup. This is going to be a little bit of a long video. I have 18 nations participating in this tournament all across Africa and Asia, the Middle East. And because there are 18 nations, it's hard to put it into tournament format. So what I have done, I have taken the four worst teams in my opinion, paired them off into two-legged playoffs where the best two winners will advance to the main tournament to join the other 14 teams in a 16-team tournament with four groups of four hosted in the United Arab Emirates. So the four lowest ranked teams, in my opinion, here I have Yemen, Palestine, Kuwait, and Bahrain. I put these guys in a pair where the two winners across both legs for each playoffs will qualify for the main tournament. So let's jump right in for the playoffs first. First playoff between Yemen and Kuwait. I have the first leg being a 1-1 draw. And I have the second leg being say a 1-0 victory narrowly for Kuwait. So Kuwait will qualify for the main tournament. Yemen are out. Next, we have Palestine versus Bahrain. Palestine has gotten better. Bahrain's gotten worse. In the first leg, though, I think it will be a high-scoring 2-2 draw. And in the second leg in Bahrain, I think it would be a 2-0 victory for Bahrain. So on aggregate score, Bahrain would qualify 4-2. Palestine out. So Kuwait and Bahrain would take the last two spots in the Arab Cup. So let's jump right into the tournament. This is the main tournament. Have a look at this. The 16 participating Arab nations in the Arab Nations Cup. So let's jump into the groups and the participants. Group A, we have host nation, United Arab Emirates, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. Group B, we have Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Algeria. Group C, we have Morocco, Qatar, Iraq, and Sudan. And in Group D, we have Tunisia, Bahrain, Jordan, and Oman. So these are the 16 nations participating. Let's jump right in with predictions. So Group A, United Arab Emirates, who finished third at the 2015 AFC Asian Cup, Libya, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. This is an interesting group. Omar Abdul Rahman is a rising star in the UAE national squad, as well as Ali Mabhout. I think that being on home soil here would really help them. They are hosting the Asian Cup next year, actually. So I made them the host of this Arab Cup while we're at it. So I think that they would be strong contenders to come out of this group, since they are the home team. Libya is also a really decent Northern African squad. They got a draw on the road in Tunisia in their final qualifying game, so they're a tough nut to crack, to be honest. Saudi Arabia is very talented, qualified for the World Cup under Bert van Marwijk. Kuwait qualified through the preliminary rounds, as you just saw with the victory over Yemen. They're an okay Gulf team, but they used to be a lot better. So in this group, I think Who would go through here? I think, in my opinion, Saudi Arabia would top this group. I think they're just the better team. Um, so I'm going to put Saudi at the top. And then in second, I think would be mostly between the UAE and Libya. If this was on neutral territory, I could see a strong case for Libya coming in second. But because the UAE are the host nation, I'm going with them to come in second, but narrowly. And I think Libya would come in third. Kuwait would come in last. So Saudi Arabia and the UAE go through. Libya and Kuwait are out. Group B, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Algeria. Algeria, based on individual talent alone, is probably the best team in this entire tournament, but they have collapsed emphatically in the last couple of years, failing to qualify for the World Cup, finishing bottom of their qualifying group with just 4 points. Really, really terrible time for Algerian national football. They're in a transition period. Meanwhile, Egypt is back at the World Cup. Mohamed Salah in the best shape of his life. Syria, who was the Cinderella story of qualifying, who almost made it, reaching very, very much unexpectedly the final round of Asian qualifying, where they made it to the playoffs against Australia, and came just a strike off of a free kick that hit the post away from playing Honduras in the Intercontinental Playoff. I think they would have qualified if they had played Honduras instead of Australia. Syria, very much a really decent side. They tied with Iran in the final day in qualifying. They slipped into the playoffs. Really came close to making it this time around with all the turmoil that the country is going through right now in the civil war. Lebanon were okay in 2014 World Cup qualifying, but they failed to make it to the final round this time around. So I don't think they'll make it very far in this tournament. I have Egypt winning the group, getting revenge over Algeria in the last match for, denying us qualification to the 2010 World Cup. I think we finally get revenge on Algeria. As well as, I'm going with a surprise here. A slight surprise. I think Syria will come in second, just based on current form. Group C, we have Morocco, Qatar, Iraq, and Sudan. Morocco very much flying high at the moment, qualifying for the World Cup in Group B. Qatar, they're a decent side in the Gulf region as well, but I think that they would struggle in this tournament, particularly against a veteran team in Iraq that is used to this type of tournament. Iraq usually performs well. They're very much a tournament team when it comes to Asian Cups. And then you have Sudan here, who they're not very good. I mean, they'll be strong, but they're not a very astute side. So Morocco here would very much be the favorite, especially going on current form. So it would be between Qatar and Iraq to come in second, and I think that Iraq just has much more potential. They have a much more youth players coming through the ranks, and I think they would get second in this group over Qatar, but Qatar would finish a strong third. So Morocco and Iraq go through. In Group D, we have Tunisia, Bahrain, Jordan, and Oman. This would be an interesting group. I think it might even be the group of death. Tunisia qualified for the World Cup. They're always a strong competitor. They're always in the fold. They have the best domestic league in Africa, in my opinion. Jordan came close to qualifying for the 2014 World Cup, where they lost the two-legged playoff against Uruguay. And Oman are actually the current Gulf champion. So, how about that? I think Tunisia would be favorites here, so they should top this group with at least 7 points. I think second would be between Jordan and Oman because I think Bahrain is just not as good as they used to be. They themselves also came close both in 2009 and in 2013. No, excuse me, in 2006 and in 2009. Um, but they just couldn't quite make it there. So it's going to be between Jordan and Oman. A year ago, I would have picked Jordan, but since Oman are the current Gulf champions, and they seem to be in the better form at the moment, I'm going to go with Oman to come in second. So Bahrain and Jordan are out. Oman goes through. So let's look at the quarterfinals. So in the quarterfinals, we have Saudi Arabia versus Syria, Morocco versus Oman, Egypt versus the United Arab Emirates, and Tunisia versus Iraq. Let's jump right in. Saudi Arabia versus Syria. I'm going to go with an upset here. I think the Syrian team is very capable, and for some reason, I see a match like this going to extra time and going to penalties, and I actually, well, either extra time or penalties. And I see Syria going through. I see the Cinderella story continuing. It'll be a nice, heartwarming tale, just like it was in qualification. So a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of an upset here. I'm picking Syria to go through. Morocco versus Oman. Morocco's is they're too well rounded. They're just too strong for Oman. I know Oman are the current Gulf champions, but Morocco, especially under Hervé Renard, like I said, they're probably the best. They're probably one of the top three sides in Africa right now at the moment. So I just think Morocco would not breeze through this match, but I think they would go through with relatively not very much trouble. Egypt versus the host nation UAE. This would be a tight, tough match because UAE is playing at home. I do think we're the better team, but UAE is playing at home, so that's going to be difficult. But I think Mohamed Salah will be the difference maker in the end, and I think the defense will hold up as well, and Egypt should get through this game. Then we have Tunisia versus Iraq. I could see another potential upset here. Because like I said, Iraq is a very stubborn, hard side to play against. And you have two very different contrasting styles here. One of a sort of Middle Eastern team against a North African style of play. I could see this going potentially to extra time because of the fact that Iraq is very much a tournament team. But I think Tunisia will have enough experience and quality to go through. So the semifinals, I have Syria versus Morocco and Egypt versus Tunisia. Yeah, it ends here for Syria. I think it's just too much to ask for to go an even further distance. I think Morocco would get past them here, though Syria would very much put on a spirited campaign here. But Morocco is they're just the better team. Egypt versus Tunisia. We always have bad luck with Tunisia. Tunisia usually beats us. I think it'd be more of the same here. I think we would lose narrowly, like 1-0 or 2-1. The match for third and fourth place will be between Syria and Egypt, just like they met in the group stage. I have the group stage match ending in a draw because I have Egypt winning here to get third place. Syria finishes fourth. Egypt finishes in third, the bronze medal. And the final of the Arab Nations Cup is Morocco versus Tunisia. This is a North African derby. It is a classic. It is a rematch of the 2004 African Cup of Nations final, where Tunisia was victorious on home soil. Here, historically, I think Tunisia has been the slightly better team, but because it is a modern day tournament in this scenario and it is going off of current form, I have Morocco victorious and winning this tournament. Scoreline, I would say 1-1, and then Morocco wins on penalties.